Hello, y'all. It has been a long time. I mean, like years since I posted, but I'm back for now, for today. I don't know the next time I'll post again, but I feel like God is like leading me, to talk about some things that have been on my heart really heavy the past few months, and I kind of been like dragging my feet with posting these videos, but I'm just gonna start with today. All I have is today. I'm gonna start here, and so I am gonna talk today about getting out of your comfort zone. And I'm just gonna hop right into it because yeah, I just am. I'm gonna leave it at that. But I feel like a lot of people that I have been like in close contact, my little circle this week have all been like entering into these spaces where it's like they're being challenged to step outside of their comfort zone. And I know from my personal experience, like having to do that is, I won't necessarily say it's scary, but it's unfamiliar. And a lot of times when you are stepping into unfamiliar territory, it can be a little intimidating because it's unpredictable, and it's like when you are in your comfort zone, you know what to expect, right? And it makes it difficult for you to, walk by faith in instances where you don't know what it's going to look like, once you make that decision or once you make that next move. But really you can't really grow within your comfort zone. That is a sense of I guess complacency, if you will, but there's no growth where you're comfortable, right? You have to get to a place where you are willing to be stretched outside of what you've come to be comfortable with, right? So it's really important for you to have people around you that are willing to challenge your way of thinking, and challenge, the things that you do, and people that aren't afraid to speak up and pull on your coattail when they see, that you have set goals and you are, kind of falling back from them. I think you need to have people that will hold you accountable, having accountability partners, if you will. And I think that's so important when you are doing something different, especially when you've been like apprehensive about even moving out of your comfort zone in the first place, just for the simple fact that like, I don't even know what to expect. Do I take this step? And sometimes it's like you have to take that one step before you can see what's next. Sometimes you don't get to see a whole bird's eye view of what you're going to be walking into, what this journey is going to look like. But sometimes you just have to be willing to be uncomfortable temporarily until you get to the place where you've been stretched a little further. And I think that it's, from my personal experience, like it's such an incredible feeling when you do get past, the feelings. You get past your emotions and you have a support group, people who support what you're trying to do, people that are not going to be your yes man and are going to tell you what you want to hear, because that contributes to your comfort zone, right? You may not at the time want to hear that. And it's okay. I think it's important as we grow. I think it's important for us to have people in our lives who will look at us and will show up for us the way I would hope that they would want someone to show up for them, right? And I know that that's what I strive to be that for the people that are in my life. I would never want to tell anyone something that if I were in their situation that I wouldn't want someone to say to me. Like I'm always going to try to be to other people what I would want somebody to be for me, and I know it's like a cliche thing, like treat other people how you want to be treated, but essentially like that's what it boils down to, because I think that's where the growth is. That's where the stretching takes place. That's what builds your character. And I think that every stage of our journey is what prepares us for what's next. Whatever the next thing is, our now is what prepares us for that. But if we aren't willing to do different, be different, think differently, then where does the preparation for what's next come in? And sorry y'all, this is my dog down here. She's like being a baby right now. She wants me to pet her. But so yeah, I personally have been stretched these last, I say like 4 or 5 months. I kind of had to just take a step back and just look at some of my own behaviors and decisions, and just looking at why, like, some of the things that I've done, it seems like it's a repeating cycle, and it's like, oh my goodness, like, here we go again. And it's because I was not willing to step out of my comfort zone so that I can, have those challenging moments, where it's like, you are going to have to be uncomfortable for a season. You're going to have to step outside of yourself and your feelings and what you're comfortable doing to be prepped for what's next. And you can't skip the lesson. Every time you try to skip it, you find yourself right back at the same thing. And I want to say this is kind of, taking me off track a little bit, but I really want to say, like, a lot of some of us, our behaviors are and habits are things that we have, we've been this way for years and years and years. And some of it we've already acknowledged, like, okay, yeah, I need to change that. Like, I don't want to be this way. I don't know, why I just can't get it together. And I think sometimes it's because we don't give ourselves the grace to grow. We put a time limit on when we need to have things done by, or when I get to this age, I feel like I should have this, this, and that. And it's like, who told you that you need to have that by then? Like, you are limiting yourself by time. And you have to give yourself, like I said, grace, because how long have you been the way that you are? How long have you been struggling with whatever it is that you are trying to overcome? So when you look at that and you compare that to how long you've been trying to change, it's apples to oranges. Give yourself time. Like, some of us, we've been struggling with certain things for 10, 20, 30 years. So you can't expect to get it in 30 days. I don't even think, like, that's just not fair for you to box yourself in and say, like, and I don't think that we necessarily, like, go into it saying that, okay, I got 30 days, but I just think, after a certain amount of time, we like, okay, like, this isn't working. But why would it work? Why would 30 years of you being this way, why would it change in 30 days? And now, don't get me wrong, like, I know God can do anything. He can make it happen in 3 days. Absolutely. But when that's not the case, that doesn't mean that it's not working. Sometimes it's a process. It was a process for you to get to where you are. Certain people, like, you've had traumatic experiences happen to you as an adult, or maybe as a child, and what you needed when you were going through that, you didn't have that. And so as a result of that, it's affected you in your adulthood. And maybe you didn't get the help that you needed to get through that. And, unfortunately, a lot of us, therapy was not a thing, in our homes. And there's nothing wrong with therapy. I started therapy maybe 2 years ago, and it was one of the best decisions that I've ever made. I've a lot of things that I've struggled with over the years. I feel like just being able to allow myself to be vulnerable enough to revisit those things so I can start to heal from them, and that was me stepping outside of my comfort zone, even talking about things, and especially with someone that I don't know. But sometimes that's maybe the first step, is just you even just talking about it or writing it down, whatever that looks like for you. It's going to be different for everyone because your journey has been different up to this point, and from this point on, your journey will be different from the next person. So again, give yourself grace while you are growing and being stretched, and your character is being developed. So this is my little snippet for today. I hope that I helped someone, at least one person. I hope to want to come back and post again. We'll see. I do have some things jotted down on a notepad that I have in my heart to discuss. So I do intend to come back and post, but again, this is one of the things with me. I'm stepping out of my comfort zone doing this. It's something that I've been needing to do for about 2 years, and I just keep putting it off because it's not, this wasn't a part of my plan, but I know God's plans are bigger than mine. And I want to make a difference. I've always wanted to make a difference in people's lives, but in my own way, in my own time, and it's not about me at the end of the day. So but the things that I'm sharing with you are things that I've learned along the way. And so if it helps someone else, if it helps any of you out there, that's great. I'm cool with that. So until next time, thank you all for tuning in. If there's anything in particular that you would like me to talk about or want my opinion on, you can message me on Instagram at Sakara Black, or Facebook, preferably Instagram. I'm not on Facebook a whole lot. I'm really not on social media as much lately. Just some personal things that I've been working on and trying to stay focused and locked in. But you can even drop it down in the comments below. And I think that's it. So I hope y'all have a good night, day, whatever time it is when you see this. Thank you so much for watching, and I appreciate it. And bye.